Hi everyone, so we are going to show you a way to simplify before you multiply called cross-simplifying. This ends up saving you some time once you actually multiply your fractions, and some people might think this is an easier way to do it. Remember that I tell you all the time there are multiple ways to solve a problem. You need to pick what works best for you. So last week we showed you just how to multiply a fraction times a fraction, which would be just multiplying straight across. Remember, your first step is to multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and then simplify. So if I were to do that, the way I taught you last week, 3 times 5 would give you 15, and 15 times 6 would give you 90. Well, here's the problem with doing just this sort of fraction times fraction multiplication without simplifying first. So here, I'm going to simplify. If I look at 15 and 90, both digits end in a number that I know is divisible by 5. So I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 5. Now when I do that, 15 divided by 5 gives me 3, and 90 divided by 5 gives me 18. Well, 3/18 is not simplified all the way, so I'm going to have to do it one more time. I could divide again by 3. When I do that, 3 divided by 3 gives me 1, and 18 divided by 3 leaves me with 6. So here I simplified 2 times to get the answer 1/6. The other way you can solve the same problem is by using cross-simplifying. So here we have the same fraction that we just did. We have 3/15 times 5/16. And I'm going to show you how cross-simplifying can save you some time. So what you're going to do is you're going to look across at our numbers. So here's our numerator 3 and our denominator of 6. We're going to think about this as its own fraction. We want to look at the numbers 3 and 6 and think about how many times can a common factor go into each of these. So I know a common factor of 3 and 6 is 3. So again, how many times does that common factor go into 3? 3 goes into 3 one time, so I cross it off and I write a 1. Then I look at 6 and I think how many times does that common factor of 3 go into 6? Well, it goes in twice, so I cross it off and rewrite 2. You're going to do the same thing over here, but 15 and 5 share different common factors than 3 and 6. So the common factor between 15 and 5 is 5. 5 goes into 5 once, I cross it off, rewrite the 1. 5 goes into 15 3 times. So now I have new numbers I'm going to be using. I suggest you rewrite the fractions because it's easier to follow what you have. So I have 1/3 times 1/2. And now you can just multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 2 is 6. That's the same answer we got up above, but it took us more steps. How to do this. I'm going to set up my fraction times fraction multiplication. I have 7/6 times 3 over 9. So I do have an improper fraction here, but this will still work out. If I take a look at the numerator and denominator, 7 and 9, there is not a number that goes into 7 and 9 evenly. However, for 3 and 6, I know that 3 goes into both numbers evenly. 3 goes into 3 one time, so I cross it off and write the 1, and 3 goes into 6 twice evenly. I can't do any more simplifying here, and that's okay. Now I can go ahead and multiply straight across. 7 times 1 gives me 7, and 2 times 9 gives me 18. This is simplified all the way. There's no other numbers I can divide by to simplify 7/18 anymore. Alright, one more example, and this example is going to show you why cross-simplifying can be helpful. If I take a look at this fraction, 11/12 times 26 over 55 Man, can I tell you, it's going to take me a minute to solve this. These are some pretty big numbers. Do I know off the top of my head what 12 times 55 is? Absolutely not. So using cross simplification will help me solve this even quicker. I can look at my numerators and denominators and I can tell that that can be simplified. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. 11 and 55 can both be simplified by the number 11. I know 11 goes into 11 one time, and 11 goes into 55 5 times. Those are simplified. Then if I would look at 12 and 26, I know that 2 and 6 being the last digit means that that number is divisible by the number 2. I know that 2 can go into 12 and 2 can go into 26. So I'm going to cross that off and simplify that. 2 can go into this numerator 26 13 times, and 2 can go into 12 6 times. Well, those numbers look a lot easier to use. I'm going to rewrite it so I can see my whole fraction. Remember, this makes it a little bit easier to read. This can get confusing. So my fractions simplified are 1/6 times 13 fifths. And now that I have 1/6 times 13 fifths, I can multiply straight across like I normally would when doing fraction times fraction multiplication. 1 times 13 gives me 13, and 6 times 5 gives me 30. This can't be simplified anymore, so now I'm done. Cross simplification made this way easier to solve. For those of you that stayed on, remember last week I gave you a code word. Well, I'm not going to give you a code word on a Post-it note, but I'm going to write it on this whiteboard. You will need your code word for the end of the lesson. The code word for the week, if you are in my homeroom or in my switch class, you know how much I love this word. The code word is taco. It's what's for dinner. Just kidding. I had tacos yesterday, but I love tacos. So the code word is taco. I hope you watched this entire video. If you need anything, let us know. Bye.